the Pearl of Africa stood tall for women emancipation as Dr. Specioza Wanderakaziwe was appointed vice president, making her the first female to hold such a position in a sovereign nation. The fight to get women from the kitchen and put their destiny in their hands did not stop there. Affirmative action was duly accorded, and every district given a woman representative in parliament. To date, Uganda boasts a sizable proportion of women in leadership, from the cabinet to the legislature and the judiciary. To some, however, these efforts have not fully delivered the emancipation dream. NGOs and women's rights activists continue with the fight for equity and equality. While this year's Women's Day celebrations were happening away in Chiruhura, many women went about their usual business of fending for their families, while others took to the streets to express their disconnect with the plight of women in Uganda.
We want justice! We are women!
What is the source of the disconnect? Did the government backslide on its commitment to gender equality, or have the women become apathetic to current efforts towards women empowerment? But yet again, how exemplary have women in leadership been? Have the beneficiaries of women empowerment attempted to uplift fellow women, or simply used the opportunity to entrench themselves and buttress the forces of oppression that hold Ugandan women down? What should be done to steer the women emancipation effort towards an action?
If you do that, the people will hate you.
A stark warning by the commander-in-chief to his forces during the year's Tarahesita celebrations. For observers familiar with the history of UPDF and with that of the man that commands it, it was a moment to sit up and take notice. By its own law, the UPDF traces its history back to the 1970s, when a youthful Yoweri Museveni, frustrated by the misrule of the government of the day, launched a liberation struggle under the name Front for National Salvation, FRONASA. Museveni and his comrades were particularly dissatisfied with the conduct of the armed forces, marked by indiscipline, heavy-handedness, and brutality. FRONASA would later merge with other anti-Amin forces to form the Uganda National Liberation Front, UNLF, and its military wing, the UNLA. In 1979, Amin was overthrown. But the UNLA's disciplinary record was not much better than the army it had replaced, and after the disputed 1980 elections, it was back to the bush for Museveni and his men. And in 1986, the National Resistance Army, NRA, finally took power. High on the agenda of the NRM-led government was the transformation of the NRA into a professional army with a truly national character. It eventually morphed into the Uganda People's Defense Forces, UPDF, by designation of the 1995 Constitution. The 1995 Constitution stipulates, and I quote, "The UPDF is a non-partisan force, national in character, patriotic, professional, disciplined, productive, and subordinate to the civilian authority as established under the Constitution." But several decades later, has the UPDF truly lived up to this calling? Is it truly non-partisan and national in character? Today, the conduct of the men in uniform is debatable. Illegal arrests and detentions are now commonplace, and this national army has been accused by the opposition of acting like the personal property of the party in power. Is this the army that the Constitution envisaged, or is it more like the monster it went to the bush to slay?